TV Crazy Man here. In this video, our mission is to go back to the 60s and 70s Mission Impossible TV series to look for crazy goofs and amazing facts. Should you choose to accept this mission, get ready for a fun ride back in time when TV was cool, even when things didn't always go as expected.
This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
In the very first mission, Martin Landau, who plays an agent and a bad guy, slams the door on the hands of Terry Cargo, played by Wally Cox. You may remember him as the voice of Underdog.
There's no need to fear, Underdog is here.
Now this quick scene looks a little rough at first, but it's really not.
They're broken.
Yes, Martin Landau did break Wally Cox's rubber hands, but he did agree to settle out of court.
They're broken.
In the second mission, Briggs, played by Stephen Hill, and Cinnamon, played by Barbara Bain, are seen in a green truck that has a removable windshield that seems to come and go between shots. They used to remove glass from shots back then to prevent glare, but it's really noticeable on new TV sets. On the episode, Old Man Out Part 2, Martin Landau's character, Rollin, must carry an old man down a building on a wire, where it's clear a stuntman and a dummy take over for the actual stunt. On the episode, Odds on Evil, the gang gets into this Aston Martin, but once they get going down the road, there's no background. It almost looks like the same color of the wall in the garage they left behind. Makes me think they never really left. Frequently on older shows, they would remove the rear view mirror so that it would not interfere with the camera view of the actors. On the episode, Wheels, Briggs' mission briefing tape doesn't do its usual self-destruct thing. So he has to do it the hard way and throw it into the furnace as he drives by in his car. The actor Stephen Hill actually misses his target. It's hard to catch, but the tape actually bounces off of the bottom of the furnace. On the episode, The Ransom, nobody's going anywhere on that elevator. Another thing that pops up a lot on these old series is the fake elevators, which are just really closets. The giveaway is the fact that the floor is continuous and doesn't have a division. If this elevator were to move, it would rip out the floor. This goof comes from the episode Fakeout and involves Agent Barney Collier.
Get set!
No, not that Barney. Definitely not that Barney.
Don't call us, we'll call you.
This Barney was played by Greg Morris, who starred on more of the original Mission Impossible episodes than any other actor. He's only beaten by Peter Graves if you add in the 80s reboot, and only by 4 episodes then. In this scene, Barney's fighting off a bad guy near a bear pit. Sometimes when actors had to interact with bears back then, they would put a guy in a bear suit. But this time they did a fake out, so to speak, and used a fake man for when the bad guy gets thrown into the pit with the bear. Now just imagine if you were the bear and a fake man landed right next to you out of nowhere. Also in this episode, Agent Cinnamon is taken captive.
What do you mean by that?
By guest star Lloyd Bridges.
That's right.
Bridges tries to hurriedly make his escape in a convertible. But where did the scenery go all of a sudden? Well, what really got my attention about this scene is when Barbara Bain and Lloyd Bridges suddenly reach retirement age going around a curve. I guess it was pretty scary.
Please disperse! Nothing to see here, please!
I'm sure Lloyd Bridges was surprised too. On the episode, The Frame, Briggs pulls up to this building, knows how far away the car is from the side of the building. Then suddenly on the close-up, the car and Briggs are so close to this shabbier looking building that from the passenger side you could almost reach out and touch it. And the old air conditioner that wasn't there before. Then suddenly on the wide shot, it's back to the first building, and Briggs has to walk several feet to even get close to this building. And of course the air conditioner is gone as it is completely changed. During the beginning of the second season, Stephen Hill's character, Daniel Briggs, was replaced with Peter Graves as James Phelps. On the episode The Slave, Part 1, a couple is attacked in bed by bats, but in reality they use birds, which I'm not saying is a goof because it seems like that is the smartest way to pull this scene off at a time before CGI. I mean, I don't blame the actors a bit for not wanting to work with real bats. On the episode The Money Machine, a man is seen working on a blackboard. When Cinnamon walks in, that same man walks in behind her, back to the same exact board, as if there was some sort of time loop in progress. On the episode Sweet Charity, as Jim walks into a workroom to get his latest mission, he walks right in front of what looks like a crew member chilling out on the bed of a truck. Also in that episode, I didn't have any back projections in the studio car shots towards the end. Just light blue backgrounds. Makes me wonder if something wasn't working that day. In the episode, The Council Part 2, Jim survives a car bomb placed in the tailpipe by climbing out through the bottom of the floorboard of the car down through a manhole cover. Using Hollywood magic, you notice that they only made it look like Jim was climbing out through the floorboard. At that point, I think he was actually in a studio. The goof occurs when the bomb explodes. The tailpipe that it was in survives better than the rest of the car. In the episode, The Astrologer, a dummy is ejected from an aircraft to fool some bad guys. But in reality, they were using a real man pretending to be a dummy, and they weren't, of course, in the air. You can see the mattress the actor lands on when you slow it way down. This is kind of ironic, I guess you'd say, as they tended to use dummies to replace humans for many stunts back in the day, and in this case, they completely reversed it. On the episode, The Elixir, Willie Armitage has a goof with an outlet. Now, Willie was played by Peter Lupus, who was in 161 episodes of the original Mission Impossible series, appearing in every season. In this scene, Willie is rewiring an outlet. When we first see it, the outlet is installed correctly. When Willie begins to pull it out, it's suddenly upside down. He rewires it and puts it back in, upside down again. He doesn't seem fazed that the faceplate doesn't seem to fit right. But when he goes to plug stuff in, it's now correctly installed. On the episode The Bargain, the IMF wants to convince a gangster that a general has signed a contract with a billionaire over gambling rights. But the actual contract appears to be about television and production rights, mentioning the Motion Picture Relief Fund, episode, series, and the word television. I guess they figured no one would notice back then. On the episode The Bunker Part 2, we get to see a drone hovercraft decades before they would become commonplace. Only theirs came with strings attached. I know you probably couldn't see the strings very well or at all on a small TV screen in the 60s, but isn't it neat to think about how often the future is predicted by fiction? Maybe they had to use strings, but their idea was certainly ahead of its time. Now, I'll also throw in here that I'm not saying this was the first or only appearance of a drone on television. I have no idea on that one. But this could have been the inspiration for today's drones. Who knows? The third season was the last for Martin Landau and his wife Barbara Bain. They'd go on to star together in the 70s sci-fi series Space 1999. Martin was replaced by Star Trek actor Leonard Nimoy. In Season 4, Bain was replaced by a series of guest stars which included Lee Merriweather. In Season 5, they got Leslie Ann Warren, and in Seasons 6 and 7, they got Linda DeGeorge. Here's a fun fact for you. William Shatner appeared on 2 episodes of Mission Impossible, but they were both after Nimoy had already quit the show. In one very cool episode, Encore, Shatner plays an old crook who gets tricked into believing he's reliving 1937. In Season 4's episode, The Controllers Part 2, Jim Phelps is driving a late 60s model car. On the drive, they do that plain background scenery thing again. And when Jim jumps out of the car and triggers the car's explosion, the car also seems to transform into a 40s model. This could be the first sighting of a Transformer. I've actually seen that exact clip of the 40s model car used on another show for basically the same kind of goof, but I can't remember which show it was. Here's another one of those invisible dashboards you see a lot of on old TV series and movies, this time on the episode Lover's Knot. In this clip from the episode The Innocent, keep your eye out for someone that isn't supposed to be there. Probably just a trainer that was involved with the monkeys that were in this shot. On the episode The Hostage, these two guys are watching the news on TV.
To outright murder, have terrorized a dozen.
Notice anything weird? Yeah, it looks like they put a fake TV in front of the actor. Now, I read that was probably cut off on old TV sets, but I can't say for sure. On the episode The Party, Jim appears to leave the party, as some commotion starts, but does he really leave it? Of course, on Mission Impossible, you just never know about these things. On the episode Underwater, they are supposed to be out in the ocean, but in the underwater diving scenes, it looks like viewing windows in an aquarium. Plus some other things in the background I can't quite identify. Also in this episode, it looks like Barney is accidentally driving on top of a curb, but they cut it off before it gets too funny. Cut. Bring in the stuntman.
Did you recognize him?
No.
On the episode Hit, a bad guy cuts a lady's brake cable. Well, then the driver runs off a cliff, and the car catches on fire hitting a guardrail, which is kind of weird. Of course, it could have been one of those early electric vehicles, or a predecessor of the Pinto. On the episode Boomerang, a plane takes off, a guy jumps out, and the plane becomes a helicopter that kind of explodes. Well, at least there's a big fireball in front of it. The series initially ran from 1966 to 1973. That wouldn't be the last mission. The series returned in 1988 and ran until 1990. This time Jim Phelps was back again. Barney makes a couple appearances, but is mostly replaced by his son Grant, who is also Greg Morrison's real-life son, who, by the way, was the Martian Manhunter on Smallville. Of course, we all know about the very successful Tom Cruise film series that started in 1996. But what did the original cast think about it? Well, Greg Morris, aka Barney, hated it due to the way the Phelps character was treated, and he walked out before the film ended. Peter Graves, aka Jim Phelps, hated how they turned his character into a traitor. According to Wiki, he had even been offered the part but turned it down. And I don't blame him. I like the movies, of course, but that was the wrong way to go. They should have had it turn out that the real Jim Phelps was captured or something, and then he gets to retire at the end. Well, this mission is over. I hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane. Please check out all the other TV Crazy Man Classic TV videos for more goofs and fun facts. Also, if you happen to be a lover of animation and cartoons in general, check out my other channel, Freddy Cat Cartoons. I'll put a link here at the end to my Underdog video, which features Wally Cox, who was on the very first Mission Impossible pilot. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thanks so much for watching. Y'all have a great day.